Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of CBT. Yes, we have in fact lasted for a whole nother episode. It is a new week. We are recording this minutes after the Celtics came away with a wire-to-wire victory against Miami in Game 4 of the conference finals. So Ethan, Rod, first of all, welcome back.
Wire to wire.
I want to get, wire to wire. The Celtics led for the entire game. They at no point trailed. So I want to get both of your initial reactions from that utter domination from that Boston team.
Rod, you first.
Me first. Oh.
Celtics hater.
So Celtics. Rod, you what'd you predict? Heat in 6?
Heat
initially?
in 6.
Okay, do you want to change that?
Oh, hell no.
All right.
He wanted to change his prediction the other day, but we'll save that. But
so what did you see in Game 4 tonight?
What I saw was a dysfunctional Heat offense because why? Why do we know why? Oh, maybe it's because they're missing their 20-point scorer off the bench. Tyler, how much did they lose by? 20 points. Oh, who would have thought? No Tyler Hero, no fluid offense, injured Jimmy. They couldn't get it going from the very beginning. They never found themselves besides Victor Oladipo, and the Celtics breezed right through them.
So the Celtics should have won by 13 is what you're saying, if Hero played.
Huh?
Because a healthy Smart would have added 13 to the Celtics.
A healthy we don't talk. Celtics would be up, what's that? 3-1 if Smart would have just stayed in the locker room and gave 3, but I don't know. We're gonna save that for a little later, I guess. Look. The Celtics were going to win one at home. I don't know why this is breaking news.
No one's saying it's breaking news. I think it's breaking news in the fashion it happened. I mean, they were up 32 at one point.
Well, they blew them out in Game 2 as well, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so it's 2-2. You got to feel like the Celtics have all the momentum going back to
the
Miami,
Celtics
right?
have all the momentum?
I feel like they do. They just blew them out.
According to you guys, this series has got nothing like you guys has predicted so far because you guys both said the Celtics are going to win Game 1.
Okay,
you guys both said the Celtics are going to win both games in Miami. That was a lie.
No. No one said the Celtics.
We didn't say both games in Miami. It was going to be
so you said they were going to take Game 1.
It was going to
be either of you thought they were going to win a game in Boston.
What? Yeah, we thought it was going to be 3-1 going back to Miami. Yeah, so.
I was expecting 3-1 going back to Miami.
Oh, but what happened?
My initial prediction was Celtics in 6, and I am not changing that. I am confident that the Celtics are going to go to Miami, they're going to beat them, and then they're going to go back home and they're going to finish them off. I'm confident. If they're healthy, they're the better team. It's as simple as that.
Okay, yes, they are the better team when healthy. We have seen Marcus Smart come back and facilitate to perfection, which is exactly what the Celtics needed. Al Horford, also an underrated piece that we were missing, because in that game when we didn't have, it was underrated.
I don't think anyone's underrating the impact of Al Horford. I mean, just tonight they were talking about him the entire fourth quarter because of the impact he had on the defensive end. He wasn't putting the ball in the hoop very much, but he was, I think, something ridiculous like plus 25.
All right, I got a question for you guys. What you guys think about Derek White?
Hey, Derek White, he had 3 points in the entire series. Granted, he did miss Game 2 due to the birth of his child. Congratulations to the White family. Their child, what Hendricks, I think his name is. But Derek White, he struggled so far this series, but tonight he came out and he scored the first 7 points for the Celtics. I think that's what really got them off to the start. Was it kind of calmed them down. You know, maybe they were a little worried there was no Smart. He's been important for them this series. But Derek White, he showed up in that first quarter and was like, hey, I'm here. I can do at least a little bit of what Smart does. And it was all downhill for the Heat.
I mean, I had to check the stat sheet for a second when the game first started, because Derek White with the first 7 points, I was confused. 3 for 3 from the field.
I couldn't
but
believe it.
I have the stat sheet up real quick. After that, he went 1 for 11.
Hey, that's okay though, because he got them off to the start. 11. He just has to get them going, and then that allows the scorers like Tatum to pick it up. He struggled almost all series.
Keep in mind, he played 41 minutes, the most on the team.
But what was his plus minus?
15. plus
Okay,
15.
so he was a net positive.
Listen, this game should have been like a 40-point win, basically, because Grant Williams also played terrible.
Oh, Grant Williams
One
could not
for
hit
8.
water.
It was awful. He was a +2. No, +1. Sorry. No, -1. He's a -1. He had an awful game. I'm sorry. He just completely bad. He did not look like the Grant Williams we've seen all throughout this playoffs.
You want to talk about awful games? If you remember to the last episode, I talked about the dynamic trio in Game 7 for the Bucks of Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, and Wesley Matthews. We saw a second coming tonight between PJ Tucker, Max Strus, and Gabe Vincent. You know what they combined for?
What'd they combine for?
2 for 21. So
sure, you can talk about the Heat shortcomings on offense tonight all you want, because I'm not going to deny it. They were bad offensively, but the Celtics defense was great. I mean, Al Horford and Rob Williams had the paint under lock, and it's not even like the Celtics won by 20, and they shot 39.7% from the field and 23.5% from three. They got to the line, they got stops what they needed, and they got out in transition, which allowed them to really balloon this lead. And that
started
key.
out with Tatum. Tatum was the one that
Mhm.
set that initial, like, this is what we're going to do. He was going, driving. He was kicking out, which is something that we haven't seen him do consistently against the Heat. We saw it against the Nets to perfection. We saw it every now and then against the Bucks, but against the Heat, he hasn't been able to pass it consistently like he has tonight. So shout out to him for having a
Tatum,
great game.
he was aggressive, he played fast, and he got to the rim. I mean, he had 31 points tonight to hit 1 3-pointer. So he's doing it on the inside, which is something that he really struggled with against Milwaukee. So it's definitely a welcome sight to see as a Celtics fan. Now, I want to go and let's talk about a little bit about the first 3 games of this series. We've touched on a little bit of it. Rod, you've been awful quiet. I know you're the world's most vocal Celtics hater. What have you seen throughout the first 3 games of this series?
what I saw was the Celtics win 10 out of the first 12 quarters the Heat and Celtics played and managed to pull out a whole win from those 3 games. If you're just looking at the stats so far, this should have been a sweep for the Celtics. And yet it's 2-2 going back to Miami. In the first 3 games, we really saw no consistency from the Celtics. Game 1, they slack offensively. It goes down to the wire. They lose. Game 2, they're clicking all cylinders, and they blow the Heat out. Game 3, similar things. Tatum's off. Jaylen Brown 40 piece. They lose. And then now Game 4, they're clicking all cylinders. It's a blowout. I just don't know why. And they've had some people in and out. And so have the Heat. But I do not think, especially in games 1 through 3, the Celtics look like a team that can outlast a team in the Heat who is just now, well, we saw Lowry come back game 3. I think he was the difference that game in the win, especially once Jimmy went down. Oladipo, game 3, what do you have, like 5 steals, 4 or 5 steals?
4 points and 5 steals or something
5 steals.
like that.
He finally got his offense going in game 4. I will change my prediction from Heat in 6 to Heat in 7. I think this series is going 7 games. But I do not think the Celtics will continue to outlast the Heat like they've been doing so far.
So you say the Celtics are outlasting the Heat. You're saying the Heat have essentially been the better team through 4, right? Is that what you're getting? Or through the first 3 games, at least? Is that what you're getting
The
at?
first 3 games, I think, yes, the Heat were better.
So
I thought
you
they
just
had the
said,
off
hold
game
on.
in game 2.
So you just said the Celtics led 10 of the first, or were outscored the Heat in 10 of the first 12 quarters.
Yes.
But they've been worse than Miami.
I think the Heat, because they blew them out game 2. The Heat were terrible.
Correct.
Games 1 and 3, they never really pulled away. The Heat were the ones that blew the lead in game 3, but then managed to stick on. Game 1 was the one where it was more of a Celtics collapse than just a Heat all around.
Yeah, the third quarter was pitiful in game 1.
Yes. So
we don't speak about game 1. We don't speak about game 1.
I think in games 1 through 3, the Heat looked like the veteran team, more experienced team. Game 4, it was just a complete, utter disaster. But I like the Heat's odds going forward.
Nah, I don't know. Game 3, you needed top 5 Tatum for 2 seconds. You just needed him to do something.
They need him to stay in the
he couldn't.
locker room in game 3.
That could have also been a good idea, yes. But you have Marcus Smart going down with an ankle injury, but he came back. Then you also got Tatum going out with whatever that was. All you needed, and it was a 1-point game at one point. 1-point game. All you needed was, you already had a 40-point game from Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen Brown was already doing what you needed him to do. You just needed Tatum to make, all you needed was that one killer 3. That's all you needed. You could have maybe had a 3 or at least like facilitate for someone else, but he couldn't even pass the ball. I remember his first play coming back was just an instant turnover. He got the ball, threw it. It was a stinker. He threw it, and it was just a turnover. That's just demoralizing after coming back when you see your team like trying to take a lead. And so I think that the Celtics are overall just a better team, but I will change my prediction to the Celtics in 7 because I do not see the Celtics going in and playing like winning back-to-back games here, especially with the Heat. But the Celtics have responded really good after a loss, but then played terrible after a win. So I think it's just going to be a 7-game series, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a Celtics victory. Now, if the Celtics win, there is a little asterisk with that. If the Celtics win in Miami, it's a 6-game going back to Boston.
That's it. Come on, that's not a bold prediction.
Blazing hot prediction there.
Yeah, come on. So to piggyback off what you were saying about Tatum's turnovers, this is the reason why I am sticking to my initial prediction of Celtics in 6.
No.
Game 3 at home, Miami won. They were up 26. They ended up winning 109-103. Sure, that sounds all good. Sounds like the grass is greener on the other side for Miami. However, I believe the Celtics, outplay would be the wrong term. The Heat got bailed out by 23 Celtic turnovers. The Heat were plus 15 in turnover differential in game 3 and only managed to muster a 6-point victory. If you're plus 15 on the turnover differential, I don't care if you're Sacramento playing against Golden State. You should win that game by 20 plus. Plus 15 is ridiculous. And I don't see the Celtics turning the ball over more than 20 times again in this series. Sure, is it possible? They've done it before. Yes. Is it likely? No, not at all. And I just think Boston's the better team. Their size is bigger. I think they have better athletes. And on an individual level, I'm taking the Celtics as the team who can go out and get me a bucket when I need it over Miami. And that's why I think the Celtics are going to go in Miami. They're going to win game 5 in a close one. And they're going to win game 6 as well in Boston. And they'll be on the plane flying to San Francisco to play the Warriors in the finals come June 2nd.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway in this series so far is that the Heat's big 4 of Lowry, Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler Hero have played one half together in this 4-game series. And in that one half, they were up 13 points on the Celtics. So obviously Tyler Hero didn't play tonight. He's probable for game 5. I just think as far as just a consistency basis as far as consistency goes, everything has been stacked against the Heat so far, and it's 2-2. Going back to game 5, I think most of us think the Heat will win. And as long as the Heat can keep those 4 guys together, I don't see a world where the Celtics play the finals.
I'll tell you who the key is for Boston. The key is Robert Williams. Game 3. He was limping in the third quarter of tonight's game, ended up not playing the rest. Thankfully, he did not need to because the Celtics were up 20 plus the entire second half. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, Robert Williams, the key. In game 3, Bam Adebayo obviously dominated the Celtics. Why? Because Robert Williams wasn't playing. and he's on a day-to-day status for the rest of these playoffs due to the surgery on his torn meniscus. But if Rob plays, I know I said Celtics in 6, but if it does go 7, if Rob plays 2 of the next 3 games, the Celtics will win the finals. And he is the key.
Win the finals.
To make the final. Yeah, they'll make it and then they'll win it. That's how confident I am. Robert Williams is the X factor for the Celtics. Watch out for him. If he does not play, the Heat have much more of a presence both on the offensive and defensive rebounds, and they have much more of a presence inside offensively.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
I think it's as simple as I think it's as simple as Celtics.
I still got the Celtics winning. It's just by the way these games have been played, I don't know. It's not easy.
You're losing faith.
Oh, no.
I just don't
Celtics.
think the way the
Celtics
series has gone,
way.
I don't think anyone has any idea what's about to happen.
Yeah.
We can act like we do, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you can hope for. You can't even hope for anything. You just have to watch, honestly. I mean, on the Heat side, let's look at the Heat side for a second. Jimmy Butler, terrible game.
PJ Tucker's Tatum's been doing 3 for 14.
Yeah, like PJ Tucker's not really an offensive threat, so take him out. He's more there for defense. Lowry, Lowry is
what?
Lowry. He's been a good facilitator for sure.
Oh, tonight he was awful.
But shooting wise, you can see his rust.
He went out and shot 1 for 6 today. He did have 3 points in 21 minutes, so you got to tip your cap there.
Mm-hmm. I see, and the thing about Tyler Hero is I just don't see Tyler Hero as that big threat against the Celtics.
I don't either.
Because of the way that the Celtics play defense. So the defense for the Celtics is more than capable of holding Tyler Hero to, what was it, game 3, he shot 4 for 15. They're more than capable of consistently doing that because it's Tyler Hero. I don't know.
I think Tyler Hero struggles with length, and thankfully for the Celtics, they have length to spare with the size of the starting lineup they throw out there.
Now, I have noticed the Heat, every single time Peyton Pritchard is like switched onto someone, they attack that boy. Peyton Pritchard is getting bullied.
Now, thank you for reminding me. I was thinking about this watching today's game. Now, in the first episode, our debut episode, I did go out and I made fun of Duncan Robinson. And I want to say, after watching the first 4 games of the series, I want to apologize to absolutely no one because Duncan Robinson is still terrible. A $90 million man. He struggles shooting. Tonight he shot decently, but he struggles shooting. And every time he's on defense, Tatum hunts for that man. He seeks him out and he attacks. And if he attacks, he's scoring or getting to the line. So Duncan Robinson, $90 million fraud is what
we don't talk about Duncan Robinson around here.
Now let's go from a series where we're talking about we have no idea what's going to happen next to one where we think we all have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen for the rest of the Golden State and Dallas series. Let's start by talking about what we've seen through the first 3 miserable games.
I'd like to point out something I saw.
All right, yeah.
Y'all may have seen the screen earlier on. You might not have known what that was for. Let's see if we can recognize what's on the screen right here.
Let's see. I know what it's. Oh, you can't see because the quality is so terrible.
You can't see. Well, I just saw something. Okay, whatever.
What was that? Was that a? Oh no! Now.
Oh yeah, now you can see the beauty.
Well.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, so if that doesn't represent what we've seen in that series so far, I'm not sure what does because Dallas has been atrocious.
I would like to say.
All right, Ethan, go ahead.
I would like to say that my prediction of the X Factor being Andrew Wiggins.
Our prediction.
I claimed it. You seconded it.
No.
Yeah. Was spot on. X Factor was Andrew Wiggins, and look at what's going on.
Now, my prediction for X Factor in the series, came from the Mavericks side, and it was looking good during game 2 when Reggie Bullock dropped 21, but boy, did he make me look like a fool last night. He put an absolute stinker of a game up, shot 0 for 10 after receiving, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Award, and he was just terrible, absolutely atrocious. Second time I've used that word talking about Dallas, but they call for it. I mean, it's just been a shellacking. They were up 19 in game 2 and collapsed in the second half of that. I thought that's when they're getting into the series. Luka was cooking, and now it's going to be over tomorrow night or tonight when you're seeing this. It's going to be Golden State in 4. None of our predictions are going to be right. It's just been Dallas has been cold from behind the arc all series, and that's what is coming back to bite them. They live by the 3 and die by the 3, and it just so happens right now the 3 is causing them to be lowered in a coffin 6 feet below the ground.
It's just
I was gonna say game 2 was actually basically flawless from Dallas. They put up 70 plus points in the first half. They were knocking down every shot known to man, and then they forgot how to rebound and play defense. I mean, my prediction was basically spot on. I said Luka could score 40 plus points every game. The Mavericks could score however much they wanted to, but they just couldn't stop the Warriors, and they have not been able to. Jordan Poole averaged 20 plus points in the 2 games at Golden State. Andrew Wiggins is basically averaging 20 plus points this whole series. Clay has played 3 horrible first halves and 3 amazing second halves. Even Draymond, he might have hit a 3 last game or something.
I think he hit a couple actually, or maybe just
That's
one.
how you
He
know
hit
it's
at least
bad.
one. I couldn't believe it. He's hit a
But
3
let's
in
talk
2 of the
about
3
the
games this
MVP
year.
of this series so far, Kevon Looney.
That's fair.
He has been an absolute demon. A career high 20 points in game 2, constantly killing the Mavericks on the glass this whole series. And Reggie Bullock, Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith. If the amount of wide open corner threes, I don't know how many you can miss. They're breaking a record. They gotta be, except for the Rockets 27 straight a couple years ago. But the Mavericks are getting the exact shots they want against the Warriors. The Warriors have played man-to-man, zone, box, and 1. The Mavs have really found the answer every time, but they just can't hit the threes. And you know the Warriors. If you give them an inch, they will take that and run with it, and they have not looked back in any of these 3 games so far.
I think I don't even know what's happening. I'm just speechless on what's going on over here. The Warriors, it's just you can see their championship like DNA. They just have that. They have like I don't understand.
All right. If anyone's confused about what we're laughing at, those viewing on YouTube, I want you to take a look at the side of Rod's head and his dangling headphones.
Oh,
It's pretty miserable. I don't know how you're recording a podcast in these environments, but I'm sorry, Ethan. Carry on.
back to the Mavericks. and Warriors.
Sorry. I don't know. You can just really see how the Warriors just look like the veteran team. They just look like they've been there, they've done it. Like the Mavericks have a lot to learn. And granted, they have done way better than anyone thought they would be doing. So props to them. Like no one's gonna blame them for when they get swept.
Oh, that's a good season. Good season.
Yeah, it was a great
season.
season for them. They have done terrific. Those mid-season moves that the Mavericks did, like give them props. Because like I said before in our first episode, getting rid of Tingus Pingus for Spencer Dinwiddie was a great move for them. It really showed for them against that the Sun series. So major props to them. But at the end of the day, like it's the Golden State Warriors. It's arguably the best point guard in NBA history. You got a great defensive mind in Draymond Green. You got Klay Thompson, which he hasn't looked like himself this series.
In the first half.
Yeah, the first
Yeah,
half.
yes, but he's. I guess it's fair to say that he's played under, like he's underperformed.
Yeah, overall,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I guess it's
efficiency-wise,
fair to say.
especially.
Yeah, so I guess it's fair to say that, and so I think it's just unfair for the Mavericks. It's a tough situation, but at the end of the day, like you just got to live with it. I mean, there's not much more to say other than that. I don't
Yeah,
know
I mean,
what would give the Mavericks an advantage in this series unless
Nothing.
Steph Curry
Got hit by
tore
a
his
bus.
yeah.
I
So
mean, at times in this series, especially during Game 3, it's felt like it's Luca and Dinwiddie playing against the Warriors starting five, but in addition to that, Reggie Bullock, Finney Smith, and Maxi Kleber. So it's felt like it's those two guys against the world. And when all the focus is being put on Luca on that offensive end, I mean, they're running box and one against him and putting Andrew Wiggins, one of the NBA's premier defenders, on him. And he's obviously going to struggle with that. He's finding the open man, Reggie Bullock, for example, and they're just shooting 0 for 10. Like, Dallas is getting the shots they want, like Rod said. They're just not knocking them down. At this point, I'm wondering if I need to go out, invest in a Mavericks jersey and some Mavericks shorts and go spot up in the corner and see if I can knock a few down for that team. And go ahead.
I don't think you need to, because I mean you have Mark Cuban, the owner of that team. So I don't know how Mark Cuban can't spare a few million.
Few luxury tax dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's over here like, Wick and the Celtics not going over the luxury tax or something, because it's just bad for them. And like I've told you off the air, Luca will not be able to even make it to the finals if he does not have that any type of supporting cast.
Let's talk about
And
that, because this series is basically done. We can go ahead and move into post series scenarios for each
Well,
team.
before that, I just want to talk a little bit more about this series. We'll come back to it. In this series, we knew what we were going to get from Steph. He's going to light him up from behind the arc. He's going to play make. We knew what we were going to get from Clay. We knew what we were going to get from most of the Warriors. But as you touched on, who the hell is this Kevon Looney guy? Like, what'd they do with the old Looney? He hasn't scored 20 points in a game, get this, since his freshman year of college. And he went out and just did it in an NBA playoff game. If that doesn't exemplify just how terrible Dallas has been inside the arc on both ends of the floor, I don't know what does. I mean,
well, they don't
sure,
have any kind of center. I mean,
they got Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell, but the two of those can combine for about 6 points a night at this point.
Yeah.
It's just Kevon Looney's domination has been, I think it has to be the biggest takeaway from this series. But looking at the two teams they could be coming up against in the finals, I don't think Kevon Looney is going to be anywhere near as much of a factor in the next series.
No, the Mavericks' interior presence it's less than non-existent. It works.
What interior presence?
Yeah, that's none.
All right, so Rod, as you were saying, post series, let's move into
post series, looking into the future for the Mavericks, things they can build on and move forward.
DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre
I'll just
Ayton
go out there and say it. DeAndre
would be
Ayton.
huge, and it would be a shift to what they're doing right now. Is they have 3 ball handlers. They have 3 ball handlers, one guy that can roll to the rim, and everybody else is a spot up shooter. Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Luca. I think all 3 of those guys have been great for them this season. Not so much in the playoffs in certain areas, but overall, they've all been good for them.
Oh, yeah.
Jalen Brunson's a free agent. They can only offer him a certain amount, I believe, but they do have his bird rights. I think they can go over to pay him whatever. I don't know if they need to, especially if they can bring in a guy like DeAndre Ayton. So I think we can all agree what they're doing right now will not work. They cannot have no interior presence like they do now. So what I was going to get to is what Ethan said. Who do you look to bring in at that position? Ethan said DeAndre Ayton. I'm thinking Rudy Gobert.
I'm taking Ayton over Rudy Gobert. I'm sorry.
I don't think Gobert would work as well with Luka as Ayton.
Yeah.
Due to the fact he has absolutely no offensive impact aside from alley-oops, layups, and dunks.
Well, okay. Donovan Mitchell does not like Rudy Gobert. He does not
Mhm.
give him the ball whatsoever. And what did Gobert average this season? Like 14, 15,
I
16?
think it was around there. It was mid-teens.
I wouldn't be
Well-
surprised if he'd average 18, 19 a game in the Maverick system.
I don't hate the idea of Gobert to Dallas. I really don't. It hypothetically would work. I just think they'd find more success with DeAndre Ayton. And
Yeah, if
they'd
you
have
want-
to. Am I wrong in saying they would have to trade for Gobert as opposed to they could just sign Ayton?
Oh, no, yeah. Gobert's not a free agent yet.
So why
They'd
would
have
you
trade
want to
for
give
him.
up pieces when you could just go out and sign a guy without having to give up some of your valuable assets?
Well, I'm just saying
Exactly.
because the defensive end, obviously, Gobert's better than Ayton.
Oh yeah, he has much more defensive upside than Ayton.
Yes.
But I still think Ayton would fill the role well enough to the point that they could, if they play their cards right and get lucky with some playoff injuries, they could be back in the conference finals next year. It's
And
not likely, but it's possible if they do get Ayton.
And the Jazz are a team to watch too, because I don't think Donovan Mitchell is
I don't.
all too thrilled about being at the
Mm.
Jazz. So
There
not
is a
at all.
0% chance Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert play an NBA game together again.
no, but I'm talking in terms of like even him staying in the Jazz. Like,
Oh, you think he's
I don't-
unhappy with the franchise just in general?
yeah, I think that's why they pushed for our boy or our ex boy, Danny.
Oh, Danny.
Danny
Yeah.
Ainge.
Ex-boy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's a topic for another.
I don't want to get into the Jazz
Yeah,
right now.
that's-
There's
yeah,
far
that's
too
a
much to
topic
talk
for
about.
another-
There was
that's a
far too
topic
much.
for-
Let's
Okay,
focus
so
Going-
we talked about the Mavericks post series. Now, is it okay? So it's fair to say the Warriors have a golden ticket to the finals, and they're just gonna wait for whoever wins the Celtics Heat.
All right. I might make a fool of myself once more.
Don't do
but
it.
Dallas is going to win game 4. It will be a gentleman's sweep, and I think Golden State wants to close it out in the Bay, just like they did with Denver.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, but I
I
said
said it-
earlier in this episode they were going to get swept. I'm changing that. Luka's going to have one magical performance in front of the Dallas crowd, a farewell, if you will.
If
And
you
Dallas
hear
will
them,
go out in 5 games, just like both of you initially predicted.
Oh yeah, they'll throw
nah,
a
if you
bomb.
hear them in if you hear them in the post game, like after the games and all that, they just sound like they threw in the white flag. They
Oh
just
no, I mean,
reverse.
they're down. They're down
they're-
3-0 to one of the most experienced playoff teams, best dynasties of all time. Like they're
Exactly.
not. If anyone thinks they are not winning this series, they're delusional or stupid.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of if it's in 4 or 5, in my opinion.
So back to what I was saying, the Warriors in the finals for what is it? The 6th time in the last 9 years, one of the
Yeah.
greatest dynasties ever. Do we think either the Celtics or the Heat pose any real threat to the Warriors?
Now, I may have a little bit of bias, as I am a very large Celtics fan, but I think the Celtics match up much better to the Warriors than the Heat do. I think due to the length they have, and if the Warriors, their DEFCON 5 lineup, right? We're all familiar with it by this point. It's Curry, Poole, Clay, Wiggins, and Draymond, right? That's supposed to be the lineup, the
Yep.
end-all be-all lineup for the Warriors. I think if the Celtics play their starting 5 of, assuming everyone's healthy, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Williams, I think they go out there and they just, I don't know if dominates the right, but they will outplay the Warriors with that lineup due to the size. Looking at the way they played Miami tonight, Miami had a similar lineup to the one Golden State likes to run. Obviously, they don't have these shooters that Golden State does, having some of the best of all time. But watching tonight, they had Max Strus guarding Robert Williams for a lot of this game. And that's why he was able to have such an impact on the offensive glass, especially. If Wiggins is guarding Williams, obviously I think it'll be more well, I don't know if Wiggins would be guarding Williams with that DEFCON 5. Would he?
I mean,
They'd have to, because I don't think the DEFCON 5 would work against the Celtics.
I don't think Poole would be there. I think it'd be like Otto Porter or something instead of Poole.
Yeah, I
But that's
still
what they
think
do
the
anyways right now.
I think the Celtics size will be the difference in that series, assuming they make it there. I think Golden State will find they will struggle with the length that Boston has. And that will be the reason, at the very least, the series goes 6-7 if Boston doesn't win it. Yeah.
Who has home court? Who has home
It
court
would be
against
Golden
the
State
Celtics?
because they had a better record than both teams in the regular season.
Yeah.
I could see it going 6-7 games. I could see it going like this Heat Celtics series. I think that's how it looks. If it's against the Celtics.
So you think the first 4 games are blowouts? Well, I guess game
No,
3 was a
no.
blowout.
I'm talking about like one apiece at home.
Oh,
and
they
forth, back and
split.
forth.
They split
Yeah.
each of the first 2. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's how I see it going with the Warriors. I think it goes 6-7 games. Heat, I give it to the Warriors. I
And
don't know.
how many?
I don't think Warriors in 6.
So you think the Celtics do match up better than the Warriors?
Yeah,
Or than
definitely.
the Heat, excuse me.
But I
agree.
also don't give it. I don't see it as easy for the Celtics due to their length, because you got to remember Steph Curry past the half court line is a threat.
Sure,
Klay
Steph.
Thompson, as much as he hasn't been playing as well as he has in the past, he's still top 5 all time in shooting. Like there's no in shooters, like there's no
Yeah.
question about that. Now, if you give Draymond the Ben Simmons role, basically, you just leave him open on everything, Celtics live with that.
Mhm.
But I think it's just all those moving pieces is going to make it harder for the Celtics.
Sure, yeah. But you're talking about Steph Curry when he gets beyond the half court line. Obviously, he's a problem. I know the Warriors, they've got plenty of movement, plenty of screens to switch people off. But is Steph Curry as effective if he's being guarded by the reigning defensive player of the year? Do you think he finds that he
Yes.
struggles with Smart? I mean, last time they played, Smart literally injured the guy.
Oh,
So do we think Steph Curry, I mean, obviously Steph Curry's going to have some success, but do we think he is the lethal, explosive, game-breaking Steph Curry that we've all come to know if he's being guarded by Smart for an entire series?
Yeah, I think so. And as much as I don't like to say it, I mean, Ime has implemented a defense of switching that has been phenomenal against a bunch of teams in this league. But when it comes to the Warriors, which is such a movement heavy team, I don't think you're gonna have to switch. It's not like you can keep Marcus Smart on Curry
Yeah,
and
I'm not
just switch
saying you
everyone
are.
else. So I think they're gonna exploit matchups. They're gonna switch him onto Robert Williams as much as possible. I feel like, because that's at least the slowest one out of everyone on the team in that starting 5.
I think Al Horford's probably a little slower than Rob Williams, but carry on.
No, on the perimeter?
They can both hold their own on the perimeter at least a little bit. They'll get a hand up. They'll get in the airspace. Both
Either
of them,
way,
especially
I
with
think,
Rob Williams' leaping ability.
okay, we can agree one or the other is gonna get switched.
I mean, either of them are going to struggle.
Exactly.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, but that's what they're gonna do. That's what Steve Kerr is gonna end up doing, just switching them. And so I think that's what's gonna be hard for the Celtics to try and they're gonna basically be having to play catch up with that, I think. So
Rob, we've heard frighteningly little from you in the past few minutes. I want to hear some of what you think.
well, going back to the original point, I don't think either the Celtics or the Heat put up any real threat to the Warriors. I mean, the Mavericks were basically the second best offensive team left in the playoffs, and even they have been shaky. The Warriors have one of the best offenses of all time, possibly the best offense of all time, because they're the best passing team of all time. Even Kevon Looney this series has been diming up literally everybody on the Warriors. And you see guys like Andrew Wiggins, who was averaging 14 points per game before this series, bam, 22 points per game, just because he can, just because the matchup is good. So there is no way to slow down the Warriors offense. There's just none. You can have the defensive player of the year on Steph, doesn't matter because he's going to get triple screen, get off of him, and then someone's going to cut. You just have to hope that a combination of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Poole all have off shooting nights, and you just so happen to be dismantling an also amazing Warriors defense. So I think this is the Warriors championship to lose. I don't really think it matters at the end of the day who they're playing in the finals. I think the Warriors are winning in 5 games, at most 6 games against whoever it is.
I definitely agree that the Warriors are the heavy title favorites at this point, especially with how much Miami and Boston are just beating each other up, just taking a physical toll on both teams. But I think it will go more than 5, especially if it's Boston. I could see Miami folding in half and going out in 5. But I personally, I know I'm not a neutral, but if I was a neutral, I would love to see in the finals a matchup of the Warriors' ridiculously good offense against the best defense in the NBA. I think that could be a recipe for one of the most entertaining finals matchups, at least recently. It's much better than all those Warriors Cavs finals, in my opinion. I think it would be phenomenal to watch. Even the chess match, I think you could call. I mean, Ime hasn't proven himself entirely yet, but I would love to see the adjustments that both coaches try and make at each other, the haymakers they're throwing back and forth. And I think we could be in for an exciting finals no matter who's in it. I hope. At least close games, no blowouts like the rest of this playoffs has been.
I think if the Celtics were to make it to the finals, one factor is their health and another factor is how tired they are. Because Celtics have had to go through KD, Giannis, and now the Heat. The Heat, on the other hand, went through a Joel Embiid-less 76ers.
For 2 games.
Was he really 100%?
And they split the other 2 games. I mean, it was 2-2 with Embiid and 2-0 without him.
And then,
besides the point.
The Hawks.
Yeah.
So
better than
whoa.
That Nets team could not have made the playoffs.
The Celtics would have killed to have those.
I'm sorry, but you cannot say that I don't care who the supporting cast. I'm taking Kyrie and KD over that goofy ass Hawks team any day of the week.
Hawks would have took a game.
I don't. Yeah, I would have expected Brooklyn to take a couple of games, but they didn't.
But that's besides the point.
That is besides the point.
Yeah. Either way, going back to, why we're doing this episode, Celtics in 7. I rest my case.
Any closing points from you, Rod?
I stand with the Heat. Celtics have collapsed twice already this series. They got another one in them. I know that for sure. We're going to see Heat Warriors.
The Celtics have collapsed, twice throughout this series. There will not be a third time. Celtics in 6, Warriors in 5. We will see you guys next week to discuss the upcoming finals matchup of Celtics Warriors. Thanks for watching. Ethan, Rod, and you want to say any goodbyes?
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we will be sure to see you guys next week.